the story of my grandfather was sort of too specific because it was APOWs, which is like a subset of everything that happened during World War II. And my question to him was about like a Jewish POW, which is a much smaller subset, obviously, and completely not researched really by almost anybody except these two dudes that I found, these two historians. So my research was a combination of, so like my grandmother's memoir, filled in certain aspects, especially of kind of life in the Donbass and life of a Soviet family, a Soviet woman, which like in typical historical research, that would be very hard to find, like very domestic details and sort of what people cared about emotionally. Um, you really need to get that from kind of first-hand accounts. So my grandma's memoir was helpful for kind of the Donbass part and the domestic part. And then these two historians helped me figure out how, the central kind of question without which the book couldn't have existed was how would a Jewish person who's captured, who's a soldier in a concentration camp, survive for extended period for 4 years. They answered that, but what was most helpful about their research wasn't like the stats or kind of the facts of like what the Nazis did, what the Soviets did, whatever, but their interviews with survivors, because that is something that I didn't have. All I had was this letter of a man who was dead. And that's a very short letter. And so I needed to fill that in, and these other men and women who survived, they kind of filled in a lot of also the emotional and the psychological part of what I needed to understand is sort of like, what would it feel like to be in that situation? And kind of all the tricks they used. I interviewed my aunt a lot to get sort of more of kind of Soviet life, but a different generation of Soviet life. Here, I began writing it in Berlin. So I did some research in Germany. I went, and in Poland, I went to 2 concentration camps. Neither of them were for POWs specifically. They were general concentration camps. But it was still very helpful to see what that's like, not on pictures, but experience it, stand in the barracks, see the bathroom, the latrines. And what was I going to say? Oh, and I also went to the village. There's like multiple places in Germany where the story takes place, as you'll see when you read it. But one of them, the last one where he ends up, I got to go there. It was like Sunday and stuff was closed, but I saw it. I saw the village and saw the geese, and I really drew a scene out of that experience. Yeah, so a combination, I would say. Speaking another language is very helpful when you're researching a book that's set somewhere else. I don't speak German, but I do speak Russian, and there's a lot of Russian language research that is not translated into any other language. So like the Jewish POW historians, that's all in Russian. And then there's another book, somewhere on my shelf, that's written by some lady in Russian, and it's just POWs, like Soviet POWs generally, just a much, 6 million people, much larger group. And she also uses a lot of interviews with folks. So there's a lot of really great details you get out of people who were there.